On this episode of Great American Gardens, we go to New York City to visit the largest Victorian conservatory in the country and see plants that get their water from the air. In Madison, Wisconsin, there's never a dull moment at the Rotary Gardens with flowers named Kiss Me Over the Garden Gate and Flamingo Feather. And more than 100 palm trees form a promenade at a university campus in Arizona. It's all part of the adventure on Great American Gardens. Hello, welcome to Great American Gardens. I'm Tricia Springer. The words great and largest are used frequently when describing our first garden. Located in the Bronx, just 10 miles north of the skyscrapers of Manhattan, the New York Botanical Garden has one of the largest remaining tracts of uncut woodlands in New York City. And it has the nation's largest Victorian conservatory. It houses one of the world's great plant science libraries and is a world leader in botanical research. As you can see, this is a garden where superlatives flow freely. With more plants under glass than some gardens have altogether, the New York Botanical Garden is a remarkable collection of horticulture. Both inside and out, this New York City garden offers unsurpassed botanical splendor.
People love being here. They say it's the most beautiful spot in New York.
This beautiful spot in the Bronx boasts the largest Victorian glass house in the United States, with 3,000 varieties of plants. A perennial garden with hibiscus the size of dinner plates, and trees rarely seen outside of China or Japan. The New York Botanical Garden is 250 acres, far too big to be seen in a day. With 48 different gardens and 17,000 kinds of plants, it lives up to its nickname, the Garden of Gardens. In the mid-1800s, this amazing pocket of nature was home to a tobacco mill. The owner of the mill, Pierre Lorillard, donated his property to the city of New York, which turned the land into a botanical garden complete with a spectacular Victorian conservatory. Today, more than 100 years after it was created, the garden retains its Victorian charm with a wedding cake white conservatory as its centerpiece. Visitors entering the 55,000 square foot glass house are transported to exotic lands.
It gives you like a chance to experience the rainforest without actually going to the rainforest. I mean, people come in here and they forget that they're in New York, and they think they're in the rainforest.
It's easy to see how people get swept away by the experience, for the rainforest is teeming with unique plants, such as the Pavonia cauliflora, a brilliant flowering plant which is only found in a small region of Brazil's coastal forest, and the anthurium plant, whose worm-like roots actually absorb water from the air. Other more familiar plants grow within the Palm Gallery, which has the largest collection of American palms under glass in the world.
They just look up and you can't believe how tall it is and how big these palm trees are.
Here, visitors can see the hat palm, whose leaves are used to make sombreros, and the traveler's palm, which earns its name from the water stored within its leaves. Travelers can cut the leaves open and drink the water if they're thirsty. Beyond the carefully controlled world of the conservatory lies the perennial garden, which is designed to look like a series of rooms without ceilings.
When you look at this garden, it really is an outdoor room. So you have a floor, you have walls, it's enclosed by hedges, and the trees give you kind of a roof, and then there are a lot of vertical and horizontal elements.
Some of the rooms are meant to evoke a mood, like the hot room with vibrant flowers such as bouvardia and canna, while the fall room shows off plants that do well in autumn, like salvia and hydrangea. The perennial garden also has a bog with plants that love soggy soil.
I'm in the bog garden right now, and I'm standing right next to Hibiscus machiutis, which is rose mallow. It likes a wet site. It's about as big as a dinner plate, as big as my face.
While the hibiscus puts on a big show, the New York Botanical Garden also features show-stopping trees. Visitors can admire the camouflage-style bark of the lacebark pine. Planted in 1909, this tree is one of the biggest outside of its native China. The garden is also proud of its rare and dramatic grove of red-barked Taniosho pine. This stand has some of the largest and best Taniosho pines outside of Japan. With outstanding trees, dynamic flowers, and tropical wonders, the New York Botanical Garden in the Bronx is a living museum. Even in a city where claims of being the biggest and best are commonplace, the New York Botanical Garden is an extraordinary experience. Next on Great American Gardens, what was once an old sand and gravel pit becomes a window on the world. We'll visit a garden with international flair in Madison, Wisconsin, when we come back. Welcome back to Great American Gardens. If you want to see what gardens are like in England, Italy, Japan, and Africa, you could take a trip around the world or simply take a trip to Janesville, Wisconsin to see the Rotary Gardens. Faraway lands mix with pieces of home to create a unified garden blend, less than an hour from Madison, Wisconsin. In the town of Janesville, 2 Rotary clubs created this picturesque setting for gardening styles from around the world.
Well, the neat thing about Rotary Gardens is that it's dedicated to international peace and friendship. And what's happened with the gardens developing over the years is that there's a lot of internationally themed gardens.
The Rotary Gardens offer an international tour, taking in the cheerful blooms of Merry England, the symmetry of Italian gardens, and the symbolic landscapes of Japan. All of it flavored by a few odds and ends from home. Nearly 500 people volunteer their time to keep these 15 acres looking as pretty as a picture. It's a picture people never tire of.
We have a lot of repeat visitors. It's a very serene and quiet garden. Although we have over 100,000 visitors a year, it's one of those that it can be very relaxed as you go through. It's not necessarily high traffic.
This site was once an old sand and gravel pit back in the early 1900s. After the pit closed, the neglected property was strewn with trash until a retired orthodontist walked the site and envisioned a garden. He shared his vision with 2 Rotary clubs and the city of Janesville. And in 1989, garbage gave way to flowers. Today, a nonprofit group keeps Rotary Gardens open to the public. Each year, gardeners try out unusual plants from around the world. At the entrance, visitors can see the sunny faces of African zinnias. And if they dare, touch a purple spine from South America. Just beyond, a trio of gardens offers a tour of Europe. The English cottage garden recreates the sweet informality of the English countryside.
These were the types of gardens that were outside of homes back in England, so it's sort of a hodgepodge of plants, lots of things tucked in there.
Gardeners have tucked in a hint of magic. The Viper's bugloss has blue flowers that change to pink as they age. And the Kiss Me Over the Garden Gate can grow 9 feet in just one summer. Just through the garden gate is the Italian garden, where informality gives way to symmetry.
The Italian formal garden is based on a central axis, and what that means is you could essentially fold the garden in half on itself and it would mirror image.
These garden mirrors reflect ruby amaranth, flamingo feather, and Persian shield. The symmetry continues in the twin curves of the French garden, where the perfume of award-winning roses creates a romantic setting. Unlike the other Rotary gardens, the Japanese garden creates allure without flowers.
When people think of color in a garden, green is the most prevalent color. So with all the shades in the Japanese garden, the importance is not necessarily in color, but actually the shapes and the forms are what contribute to symbolism and serenity in that garden.
Japanese gardens are designed to symbolize nature on a smaller scale. The stream represents a river, while this raked gravel represents the sea. The ripples are waves, and the rocks are islands. Leading out of the garden, this arched bridge is also a Japanese tradition, but its underlying curves come from Wisconsin's past.
This is actually a recycled bridge, so to speak. It's formed by some old curved laminated light posts from the city of Janesville that were found on site. 8 of these light posts form the base, the curve, which meets in the center here, and it's a 60-foot span.
The Rotary Gardens give used materials new life and bring different cultures together, not only to promote international peace, but to create a peaceful atmosphere. At the Rotary Gardens, ideas from other cultures join with objects from the past to paint one unified portrait of loveliness. When we come back, palm trees are a landmark at this Arizona university. We'll see the largest date palm collection in North America next on Great American Gardens. Back, I'm Tricia Springer. It takes a certain degree of dedication to garden in the desert. You can't be put off by intense heat or sharp thorns. For decades, students, faculty, and neighbors of the Arboretum at Arizona State University have had an intense passion to garden in the desert. A garden grows in Phoenix, Arizona, on the campus of Arizona State University. A garden that is truly an oasis in the midst of a desert community.
This is a special place because of the trees, the buildings, the artwork, the history of the campus. All these little portions help create this unique environment in the center of the desert.
Cactus do grow on this desert campus, but they represent only a fraction of the exotic and intriguing plants that thrive here. Over 300 date palms from around the globe add beauty and taste to the campus. And another tree with a corky bark was put to military service during World War II. The campus of Arizona State University spans 700 acres. Its tree-lined paths and walkways are home to more than 300 different plant species. But when it was founded, this land offered more than vast open space and a few cows.
The campus was first started in 1885. The 13th Legislative Congress of Arizona bought originally 5 acres of land from George and Martha Wilson here in Tempe. This was their cattle pasture.
By 1886, the Territorial Normal School had officially begun with 33 students and a 4-room building. Not long after, Arthur Matthews arrived in 1900 as the visionary new president. Under Matthews' guidance, the dusty and weed-grown campus began to take on a whole new look.
President Matthews' passion for plants is emanated throughout the whole campus. During his reign as president, from 1900 to 1939, when he retired, planted over 57 different varieties of trees. Different varieties of shrubs. He created this campus, this oasis.
The entire campus became an arboretum officially in 1990. Since President Matthews' tenure at the university, it's become tradition for students and faculty to plant and care for the greenery. Among some of the trees Matthews planted are the 116 palms that line Palm Walk, a campus landmark.
It was originally planted in 1916 by President Matthews. He used students to help plant the whole Palm Walk. It was completed in 1936, and today it is a wonderful example of Washington robustas at the full mature height of about 80 feet tall.
The Washington palms are native to Arizona, but they are among international company. Trees hail from such faraway places as the Canary Islands, Morocco, and Egypt. With over 300 trees of 60 different varieties, the Arboretum has the largest date palm collection in North America.
This is an immature or young female date palm. We know it's a female because it is bearing fruit. During harvest time, we will take away the bag that will reveal the ripened fruit.
The mesh bags protect the fruit from hungry birds. Date palms are so much a part of ASU's heritage that they even show up in the architecture. Stylized designs inspired by the palms appear on Gamage Auditorium, a building designed by architect Frank Lloyd Wright. Tall campus buildings and soaring trees overshadow the water source that lies beneath. President Matthews oversaw the construction of a spiderweb of underground canals that direct water from the nearby Salt River right onto university grounds. The underground pipeline floods the grounds with water and helps keep the campus green. The Mediterranean cork oak was first planted in the early 1900s when Matthews was president. His vision for ASU also proved important for the nation. The United States Department of Agriculture discovered the cork oak grew well here, and in the 1940s sent 200 more to take root here.
What makes it so unique is that it was used during World War II because it broke up very easily, and very specialized equipment could be packaged in it safely because they didn't have styrofoam peanuts and packaging material that we use today.
Once in the middle of the desert, Arizona State University is now an oasis in an urban environment. And one man's passion to color the desert with green lives on in exotic palms. A patriotic tree. And the thousands of students who carry on President Matthews' living legacy. Coming up on Great American Gardens, a plant that pioneers used for everything from a toy to a pot scrubber, the Tinker Toy plant, when we come back. Welcome back to Great American Gardens. On our tour of the Rotary Gardens, you may have noticed a lovely patch of plants in the Japanese garden that looks like bamboo. It's not. It's commonly known as horsetail, a plant that has had some surprising uses through the years. Horsetail is a primitive plant from prehistoric times. Early American pioneers found a variety of uses for this bamboo-like plant.
The neat thing about it actually is that it has different sections. In pioneer times it was called Tinker Toy plant because of the fact that these sections could be separated and then put back together. And pioneer children would use this as a toy. And actually, pioneers themselves would get big bundles of it and use it as a scouring pad. It was actually called scouring rush.
The plant has a rough texture, which made it ideal for scrubbing pots clean. But in this garden, it creates a visual texture similar to bamboo, prevalent in Japanese gardens. Here, landscapers have used it to add a vertical element to the garden's subtle design. Thank you for joining us on our tour of Great American Gardens. And remember, public gardens are your gardens.